Hello everyone, welcome to episode 2 of our Flybywire A380x Beginner's Guide. Today we're going to pick up where we left off in episode 1 and we're going to do our cold and dark tutorial for a full flight. That's right, we're diving straight into our long-haul A380 career with a 7-hour flight from Dubai to London Heathrow. So in episode 2 today we are going to prepare the aircraft for this flight by doing a startup from cold and dark. We'll prepare the payload and fuel, and then we'll set up the FMS with the flight details, etc. And then we will start the engines and push back. We will leave it there for today, and then in episode 3 we will taxi, do the takeoff, and then climb to cruise. Let's get started. If you haven't seen episode 1 where we installed this aircraft and set up our preferences on the EFB, then have a look at that one. The link is in the top right hand corner. Alrighty, so here we are inside the massive A380 flight deck, and what we're going to do is, for this beginner's guide, we're just going to do the basics and basically just do enough to do a flight from A to B. We're not going to make it too complicated. We're just going to make sure that we get everything set up and we're able to complete a full flight. So first things first, we want to make sure that this aircraft is ready to be powered up. So we're going to do the cockpit preparation. So we're going to check down here. We have the engine master switches 1, 2, 3 and 4. We're going to make sure that those are in the off position. Parking brake is over here in the corner of the pedestal. Make sure that is on. Then the speed brake lever is retracted. The weather radar is off. Flaps are up. Engine mode selector is over here. That's in the normal position over here. Thrust levers are all in the idle position. And then the gear lever is, the landing gear lever is in the down position. And both windscreen wipers are in the off position. With that checked, what we can do is we can head on over to the overhead panel. And we can turn on batteries. 1, central battery, battery 2, and APU battery can all go to the on position. You don't hear much happening there, but after that you want to turn on the external power. And again we have external 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we're going to do the 2 center ones first, external 2, external 3, then external 1 and external 4. And there, with that done, you can see the aircraft is starting to come to life. So all the overhead lighting is coming on. You can see the display is now firing up and everything else is getting powered up. Right, with that done, we can set our cockpit lighting preferences. So here you have your display panel brightness. Over here we have your display brightness for the display units over here. And then down over here at the bottom corner you have your lighting panel for all your lights. So you have your ambient lights, your pedestal flood lighting, your main panel lighting, and then your integral lights, which I like to make nice and bright. And then over here, same as the A320x, you have your display and your integral lighting for the flight control unit. So there we'll just turn everything to its max, make it all nice and bright for this. It is a sunrise flight. So right, with that done, we can turn on our radio panel. So here we have VHF 1 we can turn on, and to use this radio panel we set the frequencies like so, stick it in the standby and then move it over to the active. So that's if you want to use VATSIM. You have VHF 1, VHF 2, VHF 3, and to listen you need to pull the knob out so it's highlighted, and to transmit you need to make sure that it's highlighted in green. That's how you use your radio panel. Here we also have the squawk code. You can set it as well, but we'll use the FMS rather to do that a little bit later on. Alright, so now that we have the external power done and the lighting is all done, then we can go ahead and do the cockpit preparation flow. To do that, we're going to start in the overhead panel, and we're going to just go up the right, then the center, then the left, and we're going to do typical Airbus fashion. We're going to make sure that all the white lights are extinguished. So over here, starting on the left hand side, cruise supply is going to go on. ADIRS 1, 2 and 3 we're going to set to nav. Then we're going to come this side. We're going to leave the fuel pumps off for now because we haven't completed fueling. The lighting over here we can set, so we're going to set the strobe lights to auto. Nav lights can go on, the logo light is not working. On the emergency exit lights, moving up the panel, we said we're going to leave the fuel pumps off for now. And then on the right hand side there's nothing to set up there. Alrighty, with that done, let's go ahead and set up our fuel and our payload. So we're going to turn on the EFB, import data from SimBrief. And there we have our fuel and our payload. So we have from Dubai to Heathrow. There's our company route, 0 fuel weight, and our route, our weather, etc. So if we go to the ground page, services, fuel. Start loading the fuel. It's set to instant, so it's going to load it instantly. Passengers, set to fast, so let's start loading the passengers so long. Alright, so that's done. We got our operational flight plan over here, and we'll use this details now to set up our MCDU. Alrighty, and over here is our FMS or MCDU, and I think this is where the biggest difference comes in when we are flying the Airbus A380 compared to the A320neo. This is completely different, but it follows the same sort of Airbus logic as the MCDU. So we're going to do our init page, our flight plan page, our fuel page, and our performance page, basically the same as we did it last time. So over here in the top left hand corner we have FMS1, ATC communication, surveillance page, and FCU backup. So if you click through these different pages, it's going to give you different options. So the surveillance page is where we set up our transponder and our TCAS. We'll come back to that a little bit later. But for now, what we want is the FMS page. Here we also have drop down menus over here. We have the flight plan page, the performance page, the fuel and load page, and then the init page again. And we also have these buttons over here to set everything up, and we can use our mouse, or we can use our actual physical keyboard. So we can use the keys over here, or we can use these buttons to navigate through the pages, or we can use the drop down menus over here. So typical Airbus fashion, we're going to start with the init page first. You can see we have flight number, from, to, company routes, etc., cruising flight level, cost index, cruising temperature, etc. And over here we have our company flight plan request. Because we linked our SimBrief account in episode 1 of this tutorial series, we can click on company flight plan request, and there it says uplink insert in progress. So we're going to wait a couple of seconds, and there after a few seconds it says received company flight plan. Click on it, click on insert, and there it has our call sign Speedbird 106 from Dubai to Heathrow. Our alternate is Manchester. Company route none. Cruising flight level 360. Cruising flight level temperature minus 56 degrees. Cost index 192. Our trip wins for this flight we can get from our OFP. Average win component minus 25. So we're going to stick that in there. Now you can double click on that. So you can click minus 25 on your physical keyboard and press enter. And there it shows that a minus 25 is a headwind of 25 knots. That's all you need to fill in for this page over here. Second page is our flight plan page. So here we click on flight plan, and here it's got our flight plan. Here you can scroll through it using the arrow keys. First things first, we want to stick in our departure. Right, to do that you're going to click on your departure airport. You're going to click on departure. Yeah, runway. You're going to be taken off runway 30 right. If I bring up Navigraph over here, you're going to be taken off 30 right, and our departure is going to be the REDAP to Foxtrot departure. So off 3 right up to a REDAP. So let's move that out the way. Standard instrument departure, scroll down, REDAP to Foxtrot departure. There it's inserted it over there. And now we're going to click on temporary flight plan. It has inserted the departure over there, REDAP to Foxtrot. Click on insert temporary. There it goes green, and now our flight plan is being inserted. So if we click on plan over here, we scroll out. Here you can see we have our departure off 30 right up to a REDAP, and so on and so forth. With the flight plan page done, now because this is a long flight, we're not going to scroll all the way through to do our arrival. We'll pick that up during our cruise where we'll insert the arrival, because the weather's going to change in 7 hours when we arrive at London. Alright, after the flight plan we're going to go to fuel and load page, and here we need to insert the zero fuel weight, the zero fuel weight CG, and the block fuel for our flight. So we have our zero fuel weight. You have two options. You can either get it here from your operational flight plan. You can see it over here, 342.3, or you can get it from your payload page, 342.3. So double click there, use your keyboard, 342.3, press enter. Your zero fuel weight CG you're going to get from the payload page as well. There it is there, 35.26. So again, 35.26. Your block fuel, you can get it on the fuel page, 95.8 tons, or you can get it on your operational flight plan. 95.8 tons is rounded up from 95,784. So we're going to go 95.8. That's it. Taxi, you can change it if you want to. PAX numbers, make sure you've inserted PAX numbers there if it hasn't done it for you. Everything else you can leave it as is. Then we're going to go to the performance page. Now here's where things get a little bit interesting. We don't have a performance calculator built in for the A380x. So if you double click on these values here, they don't fill them in automatically for you. So what we do for that is we go to SimBrief and we use our performance and tools page here on SimBrief. We can go and populate from last flight. It'll bring up all the details over here. Change it to disabled. We have using hectopascals. Populate weather, so it's got the right weather. Click on calculate, and yeah, it's going to calculate these values for you. So we have flap settings 1, thrust setting of flex, an assumed temperature of 66 degrees, V1 140, V rotate 148, and V2 153. So I'm just going to move this over, and I'm going to insert these values over here. So V1 140, V rotate 148, V2 153. Make sure you press enter every time. Flex temperature, an assumed temperature of 66 degrees. Flap settings is flap 1 is correct. And then the trimmable horizontal stabilizer, we can get the value from over here. So we have 40.0. You can also get it from your payload page. Change that to gross weight CG, and we can use that value over there, 40.1. So 40.0 is fine. So here we're going to punch in 40.0, press enter, and that's your performance page set up. If you're flying on VATSIM and you need to stick in your squawk code, you go to your surveillance page here on squawk. The squawk they give you, you can put it in auto as well. TCAS is on standby. We'll put that on when we get to the runway. Alright, let's go back to the FMS page. We'll leave it on the performance page so we can see these values. FMS 2 we can put on the flight plan page, just so we can reference that over there. Right, let's go ahead and set up our FCU. So we want to set it on hectopascals because that's what I'm using. Current QNH is 1014. Constraints can come on. We can also set our first altitude. Now we don't have an altitude restriction for this departure, so I'm going to set it to our transition altitude, which is 13,000 feet. Flight directors on first officer side, we can stick on constraints or waypoints or something else. 1014 set on both, that's good. Now let's do the cockpit preparation checklist. So here at the bottom we have our checklist button. Just punch that over there, and it brings up the electronic checklists over here. So what you can do is you can either use, if you've got a big enough screen and you can see it from there, then we use the up and down arrows to navigate the page, and then we use the tick buttons to tick through the checklist. There's a captain's and a first officer's one. So we click on the checklist button. First checklist is a cockpit preparation checklist. If you want to see it nice and clearly, you can press the right alt button on your keyboard and then click on the screen, and it pops it up like that over here. So we go gear pins and covers removed. Click on it, it goes green. Fuel quantity, we have 98 tons set. Seatbelt signs are not on, so we'll stick those to the auto. Position, ticket, and then the checklist is complete. And with that done, we are pretty much ready to start up and push back. So what we'll do is we'll go back to the overhead panel. Let's turn on all these fuel pumps, and there is a lot of them in the A380x. Let's go ahead and turn on the APU, start the APU. So APU master switch on. We're going to wait approximately 3 seconds. APU start, and the APU will start up. Here we got our screen over here, so we can see flap open. Here we can monitor the APU startup. Right, so while the APU is starting up, what we can discuss quickly is the onboard airport navigation system, which we can see here on the navigation display. So if you go to the zoom part here on your range mode selector, you can see it opens up the ground chart for the airport that we are at. Really cool feature. Now this does require a Navigraph Unlimited subscription. If you don't have a Navigraph Unlimited subscription, there's a way to still use it. Go to the Flybywire website and you can see how you can set up this for use without your Navigraph Unlimited subscription. But yes, you can zoom in here, and here you can see we are at stand Bravo 3. And if I zoom out a little bit, so we're going to taxi to runway 30 right, which is, you can see it's got this green arrow over here. So we're just going to taxi, we're going to push back nose left, tail right. We're going to taxi across Juliet, we're going to go all the way out to Mike, and then we're going to taxi all the way down Mike to the end of runway 30 right. But we'll follow along with that while we are taxiing. That'll be in the next episode. Okay, we have APU available. So let's turn on the beacon light. APU bleed can go on. We can disconnect the external power. Let's do the before start checklist. Actually, while we do that, let's get GSX ready to push us back. Prepare for pushback and departure. I don't know if that's going to work because every parking I park at, GSX tells me it's too small, but we are at Dubai and they just basically have a whole massive fleet of A380s, so definitely big enough for where we are. When we get to airports like Heathrow, which I'll show you in the cruise, you got to make sure that you are using parking stands, taxiways, runways that are capable of handling an aircraft of this size of the A380.
Hello, Captain. We are ready for pushback.
Alright, while that gets ready, let's do the before start checklist. So we'll go back to the checklist page, click on the before start checklist, parking brake is set, takeoff speeds we have V1 140, V rotate 148, V2 153, thrust we have flex and temperature of 66, beacon lights is on. Now you can see the beacon lights green already because it's reading that from the aircraft.
Checks completed.
Okay, checklist complete.
Bypass pin inserted.
Alright, to do the startup, basically similar to the A32NX, the only difference is this time we've got 4 engines to start instead of 2, but the process is going to be the same. We're going to make sure the APU bleed is on, which we have on. The engine start switch, we're going to move to ignition start. Now we're going to wait about 10 seconds before we start engines number 1 and 2. Once engines 1 and 2 are started up, we're going to start engine number 3 and 4. Let's go to our engine page, door page. All the doors were closed, I think. Yes, all the doors are closed, so we can go to the engine page where we'll monitor the engine startup. So once GSX is ready to push us back, we're going to push back tail right, nose left onto uniform or Juliet, and we'll start up the engines. Select pushback direction. We are going nose right, tail left. No, nose left, tail right.
Release parking brakes, please.
Let's release the parking brake.
Commencing push. All engines clear. Start at will.
There we go. So ignition starts. We can wait 10 seconds. You can use the Alright, it's been about 10 seconds, so let's do engine number 1, engine number 2. Here we see we have N2 rising. Here we have N1. Just jump outside and listen to the engine start up. The volume's a bit low for that. Alrighty, so engine number 1 and 2 starting up nicely. Here we have 1 and 2 available. So we're going to start up engine 3 and 4. Here N2 and 3 rising. There we have N1.
Please
Okay, parking brake is set.
Waiting your confirmation for a good engine start.
Cockpit to ground. We have a good engine start. You can disconnect.
Unlocking gear.
Alrighty, there we have engines 3 and 4 available. So our after start flows, starting from the overhead panel at the top of here. APU bleed is going to go off. Engine start switch back to normal. APU can go off. While we're up here, we're going to set the nose wheel light to taxi. Runway turn off and camera light can go on.
Tow truck disconnected.
Auto brake
Bypass
for takeoff, we're
vehicle.
going to set to reject the takeoff arm. Here, we're going to set flaps 1.
Right is clear.
And arm the speed brakes. And then we're going to do the after start checklist. So back to the checklist button. Tick after start checklist. NCIS is not required. Pitch trim set to takeoff. We forgot to do that. So to set the pitch trim, we need to set our pitch trim to 40.0. Now in the Airbus A320 we used to have this trim wheel over here that's not here anymore. Now we have this rocker switch down here where you can set the trim, or you can use a button or switch mapped to a control of yours. So I have mine mapped to my joystick, so I'm just going to push it, and here you want it to get to 40.0. Once it's in the green it should be all good, but we're going to set it down to 40.0. So we have pitch trim set for takeoff, rudder trim neutral. So that is our after start checklist complete. We can do a flight control check. So flight controls, check all our control surfaces, check our elevators and our ailerons and our rudder. So we start with the ailerons. We're going to go full left, neutral, full right, neutral, full up, neutral, full down, neutral, rudder, full left, neutral. So yeah, it lags, full right, neutral. It's probably because of the size of that rudder. And then we have our flight control check complete. Now we can do our taxi checklist. So flight controls checked. Flap settings, we have flaps 1 set. Radar is off. Takeoff, we didn't do our takeoff config, so let's press the takeoff config. Takeoff config is normal. Everything's in green, and we have checklist complete. And with that done, we are ready to taxi. Alright, so we're going to leave it there for today. We'll pick this up in episode 3, where we're going to do the taxi to the runway. We'll take off, we'll climb to cruise, and then we'll settle in our cruise for our long 7-hour flight up to London Heathrow. If you have any questions regarding flying the A380x, leave a comment below the video and I will get back to you. Otherwise, hop onto our Discord and come and join the community over there. If you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, and we will see you in episode 3. Thanks for watching. Bye.